Welcome to Better English Step by Step. This is your time to slow down, take a deep breath, and focus entirely on your English fluency. I am Sarah, and I am here to guide you through another calm, long-form learning session.
And I am Mark. Together, we are going to spend the next hour focusing on one specific skill that separates intermediate learners from advanced speakers. We are not just going to learn new words today. We are going to learn how to glue them together.
Exactly. Have you ever listened to a native speaker, perhaps in a podcast or a movie, and felt that their English flows like a river? One idea moves smoothly into the next, without any breaks or awkward pauses. It sounds musical. But then, when you try to speak, you might feel that your sentences are short, choppy, maybe a little bit robotic. You say one sentence, then you stop, then you say another sentence. You understand complex ideas, but you struggle to connect them smoothly.
If that sounds like you, you are in the right place. Today, we are going to build bridges. We are going to master the connector phrases that advanced speakers use to link their thoughts. These are phrases like, having said that, on top of that, and in light of this. By the end of this hour, you will not just know what these mean. You will have practiced them so many times that they will become automatic.
So find a comfortable place. Maybe you are commuting, or walking, or just relaxing at home. Let your shoulders drop. Relax your jaw. We are going to take this step by step. We will explain the phrase, give you a real-world example, and then we will practice it together, with plenty of time for you to repeat after us. Let's begin with our first category of bridges. These are the contrast bridges.
Think about how often you want to disagree with someone or present a different side of an argument. In basic English, we usually just say but. But is a useful word, but if you use it every time, your English sounds repetitive. To reach that C1 advanced level, you need more sophisticated ways to change direction.
Our first phrase is a personal favorite of mine. It is the phrase, having said that.
Having said that. This is a beautiful phrase. It signals to the listener that you are about to present a counter-argument, but you are doing it politely. You are acknowledging that what you just said is true, but there is another side to the story. It's much softer and more professional than just saying, but.
Let's listen to the rhythm of it. Having said that. Notice the stress. We don't stress every word equally. We usually stress the word said. Listen again. Having said that.
Now let's hear it in a context. Imagine you are talking about your job. You want to say the work is difficult, but the salary makes it worth it. A beginner might say, the work is hard, but the money is good. Here is the advanced version. Listen closely. The work is incredibly demanding. Having said that, the salary is excellent.
Now it's your turn. We are going to practice this phrase with several different endings. I will say the first part of the sentence. Then Mark will say the bridge and the second part. Finally, you will repeat the full sentence during the pause. Are you ready? Let's try the first one. I really enjoy living in the city.
Having said that, the noise can be overwhelming. Now you say it.
Good. Let's do that one again. Focus on the pause after the bridge. I really enjoy living in the city.
Having said that, the noise can be overwhelming.
Excellent. Let's try a new situation. This time we are talking about a colleague named John.
John is a very talented designer. Having said that, he is difficult to work with.
Your turn. Repeat the full sentence.
Very good. Notice how we use a falling intonation at the end of the first sentence, and then we reset for the bridge. Listen to the melody again. John is a very talented designer. Down. Having said that, up slightly. He is difficult to work with. Let's try it one more time. John is a very talented designer. Having said that, he is difficult to work with.
Great. Let's move to a travel context.
The hotel was absolutely beautiful. Having said that, the service was quite slow.
You try it. One more time. Focus on enunciating the V in having.
The hotel was absolutely beautiful. Having said that, the service was quite slow.
Doing this repetition is what builds muscle memory. You shouldn't have to think about the grammar. It should just come out of your mouth. Let's try a slightly longer one now. This is for those of you who want to challenge.
I believe we should launch the product now. Having said that, I understand the risks involved.
Repeat that after me.
I believe we should launch the product now. Having said that, I understand the risks involved.
Let's try one more example with this phrase before we move on. Think about learning English. It is a long journey. Learning a language takes years of practice. Having said that, the rewards are life-changing. Your turn. Wonderful. You are already sounding more sophisticated. Instead of a simple but, you are using a bridge that connects two complex ideas. Our next contrast bridge is a bit more formal, and it's perfect for professional situations or intellectual discussions. The phrase is conversely. Conversely. This is a single word, but it packs a lot of power. We use conversely when we are comparing two situations that are opposites. It is very mathematical, very logical. You might hear this in a business meeting or a lecture. For example, imagine we are talking about sales. In the summer, sales go up. In the winter, sales go down. We can connect these two ideas with conversely. Here is the sentence. Sales tend to peak in the summer months. Conversely, they drop significantly in the winter. Listen to the stress. Conversely. The stress is on the second syllable. Conversely. Let's practice this. I will give you a scenario about personality types, introverts and extroverts. Extroverts gain energy from being around people. Conversely, introverts recharge by being alone. Now you try. Repeat the full thought. Good. Make sure you pause after the word conversely. It acts like a breath. Let's try that again. Extroverts gain energy from being around people. Conversely, introverts recharge by being alone. Very good. Let's look at a diet and health example. Some studies suggest coffee is good for your heart. Conversely, others claim it raises blood pressure. Your turn. Let's try to smooth out the transition. Don't rush into the word conversely. Give the first sentence a moment to land. Some studies suggest coffee is good for your heart. Conversely, others claim it raises blood pressure. Let's try a workplace example. Working from home versus working in the office. Working from home offers flexibility. Conversely, being in the office promotes collaboration. Repeat that. Excellent. You are doing great. We are building these patterns into your brain. Let's do one more with conversely. This one is about investment. High-risk investments can yield high returns. Conversely, safe investments usually offer lower growth. Your turn. Perfect. Now, before we leave the land of contrast, I want to give you one more phrase. This one is very useful when you want to dismiss an idea and state the opposite. It is the phrase, on the contrary. On the contrary. This is a strong phrase. You use this when you want to correct a misconception. For example, if someone asks, "Are you tired?" and you are actually full of energy, you wouldn't just say, "No." You would say, "On the contrary, I feel great." It means the opposite is true. Let's listen to an example. Imagine someone says, "I heard the meeting went badly." You disagree completely. You say, "The meeting didn't go badly. On the contrary, it was a huge success." Let's practice the rhythm. On the contrary. The stress is on the first syllable of contrary. On the contrary. Let's try a full sentence. I am not annoyed by your questions. On the contrary, I appreciate your curiosity. Your turn. Good. Let's try that again with feeling. You want to sound reassuring. I am not annoyed by your questions. On the contrary, I appreciate your curiosity. Let's try a situation about the weather. People think it rains all the time in London. It doesn't rain every day in London. On the contrary, we have had beautiful weather lately. Repeat that. And one more. This is about your workload. I don't mind staying late. On the contrary, I want to finish this project tonight. Your turn. Well done. We have covered 3 powerful ways to show contrast. Having said that, conversely, and on the contrary. If you are finding these helpful, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. We create these lessons specifically to help you build these habits over time, and we don't want you to miss the next step in your fluency journey. Now, let's take a deep breath. Clear your mind. We are going to switch gears. We are leaving the contrast bridges and moving to the addition bridges. Sometimes you don't want to disagree. You want to add more information. You want to pile one good idea on top of another. In basic English, we use and or also. But to sound like a C1 speaker, you need phrases that say, wait, there is even more. Our first addition bridge is very visual. It is the phrase, on top of that. On top of that. Imagine you are building a tower. You put one block down, then you put another block on top of that. This phrase is used when you are listing points. often to show that a situation is overwhelming or impressive. For example, imagine you are having a terrible day. First, you missed the bus. Then, it started raining. You could say, I missed my bus this morning. On top of that, it started to rain. It emphasizes that the second thing made the situation even more significant. Let's practice the pronunciation. It links together. On top of that. It almost sounds like one long word. On top of that. Let's try a positive example first. You are describing a candidate for a job. She has 10 years of experience. On top of that, she speaks 3 languages. Your turn. Repeat the full sentence. Good. Do you hear how emphatic that sounds? It is much stronger than and. Let's try it again. She has 10 years of experience. On top of that, she speaks 3 languages. Now let's try a negative example. A bad restaurant experience. The food was cold. On top of that, the waiter was rude. You try it. Make sure you put a little extra stress on the word top. On top of that. Let's try again. The food was cold. On top of that, the waiter was rude. Let's look at a housing example. The apartment is in a great location. On top of that, the rent is very affordable. Your turn. And one more about a busy schedule. I have to finish this report by 5. On top of that, I have a meeting in 10 minutes. Repeat that.
Very good. On top of that is perfect for casual and professional contexts. Now, let's look at a slightly more formal addition bridge. This one is excellent for writing essays or giving presentations. The phrase is furthermore. Furthermore. It simply means in addition, but it sounds very structured. It signals that you are building a logical argument. Let's hear it in action. Imagine you are arguing why people should exercise. Regular exercise strengthens your muscles. Furthermore, it improves your mental health. Let's practice the stress. Furthermore. The stress is usually on the first syllable. Furthermore. Let's try a business context. You are explaining why your company should expand. The new market is growing rapidly. Furthermore, there is very little competition there. Now you say it. Good. Let's try that again. Speak clearly and slowly. The new market is growing rapidly. Furthermore, there is very little competition there. Let's try an environmental example. Recycling reduces waste in landfills. Furthermore, it conserves natural resources. Your turn. Excellent. And one more context regarding education. The course offers practical skills. Furthermore, it is recognized by major employers. Repeat that. Perfect. Now, I want to introduce you to a slightly more advanced structure for addition. This is a grammar pattern that screams advanced speaker. It is the structure not only, but also. This one is special because it often requires us to change the word order. When we start a sentence with not only, we have to invert the subject and the verb, just like a question. For example, normally we say, he is rich. But with this structure we say, not only is he rich. We swap he and is. Then we finish the sentence, but he is also generous. So the full bridge is, not only is he rich, but he is also generous. This is a beautiful, rhetorical structure. It makes you sound very persuasive. Let's practice this inversion. Repeat after me. Not only is he rich. Now the second part, but he is also generous. Now put it together. Not only is he rich, but he is also generous. Let's try another one. Imagine you are talking about a computer. It is fast, it is quiet. Normal sentence, it is fast. Inverted, not only is it fast. Let's finish it, but it is also quiet. Full sentence, not only is it fast, but it is also quiet. Your turn. Good. Let's try one with a different verb. Imagine talking about a colleague who works hard and helps others. Sentence, she works hard. Inverted, not only does she work hard. Notice we use does here because it is an action verb. Let's finish it, but she also helps the team. Full sentence, not only does she work hard, but she also helps the team. This is tricky, so let's practice it again. Not only does she work hard, but she also helps the team. Your turn. Let's try a past tense example. You went to a party. You saw friends. You made new ones. Not only did we see old friends, but we also made new ones. Repeat that. Very good. This structure takes time to master. Don't worry if it feels awkward at first. The more you shadow us, the more natural it will feel. Let's do one more. Not only is this lesson useful, but it is also relaxing. Your turn. Wonderful. You have now mastered on top of that, furthermore, and the tricky not only but also. You are stacking ideas like a pro. We are going to take another deep breath now. Inhale deeply and exhale slowly. Let your shoulders drop. You are doing great work. We have covered contrast and addition. Now we are moving to our third pillar, cause and effect bridges. These phrases are essential for explaining why things happen. They connect an action to a result. In basic English, we use so or because, but so is a very small word. To hold the floor and sound authoritative, we need stronger connectors. Our first phrase in this section is, in light of this. In light of this. This is a beautiful metaphor. Imagine shining a light on a situation so you can see it clearly. Because you can see it clearly, you make a decision. It means because of this new information. For example, imagine the weather report says a storm is coming. That is the new information. In light of this, we will cancel the picnic. Let's listen to the rhythm. In light of this, 4 syllables. Here is a business scenario. The budget has been cut. The budget has been reduced significantly. In light of this, we need to pause the project. Your turn. Repeat the full sequence. Good. Let's try that again. The budget has been reduced significantly. In light of this, we need to pause the project. Let's try a customer service example. You received a complaint. We received your feedback this morning. In light of this, we have updated our policy. You try it. Make sure you link the words light of. It sounds like light of. In light of this. We received your feedback this morning. In light of this, we have updated our policy. Let's try a personal example. You found out you are allergic to dairy. I recently discovered I am allergic to dairy. In light of this, I have changed my diet. Your turn. Very good. This phrase makes you sound very reasonable and logical. It shows you are reacting to facts. Our next cause and effect bridge is a powerhouse word. It is consequently. Consequently. This is the big brother of so. It means as a result. It is very common in written English and formal speech. Let's break down the pronunciation. Consequently. 4 syllables. The stress is on the first one. Consequently. Example, he didn't study for the exam. Consequently, he failed. That is a simple example. Let's try a more transformed one.
The company ignored market trends for years. Consequently, they lost their competitive edge. Good. Be careful not to rush the middle syllables. Consequently. Let's try again. The company ignored market trends for years. Consequently, they lost their competitive edge. Let's try an environmental context. Temperatures are rising globally. Consequently, sea levels are increasing. Your turn. Excellent. And one more about time management. She manages her time very well. Consequently, she is rarely stressed. Repeat that. Perfect. We have one last phrase for this section. It is a phrase that functions very similarly to consequently, but it is a phrase rather than a word. It is as a result. As a result. This is slightly softer than consequently and can be used in almost any situation, formal or informal. He missed his train. As a result, he was late for the meeting. Notice the linking, as a result. The S in as sounds like a Z, as a result. Let's practice. It rained heavily all night. As a result, the game was canceled. Your turn. Let's try a positive one. They worked hard on the presentation. As a result, they won the client. You try it. Good. And one more regarding health. He started walking every day. As a result, he feels much more energetic. Repeat that. You are doing a fantastic job. We have covered a lot of ground. We have looked at contrast, addition, and cause and effect. These are the tools of a fluent speaker. Now we are going to do something special. We are going to put all of these pieces together. We are going to enter the flow simulation. I'm going to tell a short story. It is a monologue about a woman named Anna who decided to move to a new country. This story will use many of the bridges we have learned today. First, just listen. Close your eyes if you can. Just let the English wash over you and notice how the bridges connect the ideas. Here is the story. Anna had always lived in a small town. She loved her community and her friends. Having said that, she felt that something was missing from her life. She wanted adventure. In light of this, she decided to apply for a job in New York City. It was a rigorous application process. Furthermore, the interview was incredibly difficult. She was nervous. Conversely, the interviewers were very relaxed and friendly. A week later, she got the job. Not only did she get the position, but she also received a higher salary than she expected.
Consequently, she packed her bags and moved within a month. Did you hear them? Did you hear how having said that pivoted the story? Did you hear how consequently moved the action forward? Now we are going to practice this story together. We are going to break it down sentence by sentence. I want you to shadow me. Copy my intonation, my pauses, and especially the way I say the bridge phrases. Let's start with the first part. Anna had always lived in a small town. She loved her community and her friends. Your turn. Now, the contrast. Having said that, she felt that something was missing from her life. Repeat that. Focus on the bridge. Having said that, she felt that something was missing from her life. Next part. The decision. She wanted adventure. In light of this, she decided to apply for a job in New York City. Your turn. Let's do that again. Listen to the link, in light of this. She wanted adventure. In light of this, she decided to apply for a job in New York City. Now, the addition, the struggle. It was a rigorous application process. Furthermore, the interview was incredibly difficult. Your turn. Make furthermore sound serious. It was a rigorous application process. Furthermore, the interview was incredibly difficult. Now, the surprise contrast. She was nervous. Conversely, the interviewers were very relaxed and friendly. You try it. Good. Now the not only structure. This is the climax of the story. A week later, she got the job. Not only did she get the position, but she also received a higher salary than she expected. Take your time with this one. Repeat it. Not only did she get the position, but she also received a higher salary than she expected. And the conclusion, the result. Consequently, she packed her bags and moved within a month. Your turn. Consequently, she packed her bags and moved within a month. Excellent. Now I want to try something a little harder. I'm going to read the whole story again, but this time I will leave the bridges blank. I want you to fill in the silence with the correct bridge. For example, if I say she loved her town, she felt something missing, you should say, having said that. Are you ready to test yourself? Let's try. Anna had always lived in a small town. She loved her community and her friends. She felt that something was missing from her life. Did you say having said that? Good, let's continue. She wanted adventure. She decided to apply for a job in New York City. Did you say in light of this? Or perhaps consequently? Both work, but we used in light of this. Next one. It was a rigorous application process. The interview was incredibly difficult. Did you say furthermore or on top of that? Great. She was nervous. The interviewers were very relaxed. Conversely. And the last one. Did she get the position, but she also received a higher salary? Not only. Excellent work. This kind of active recall is what solidifies the learning. You aren't just repeating anymore. You are thinking like an advanced speaker.
We have a few minutes left, and I want to address one final master bridge. This is a phrase that doesn't fit perfectly into contrast, addition, or cause, but it is incredibly useful for clarification. It is the phrase, in other words. Sometimes you say something complex, and you want to make it simpler. You want to rephrase it to make sure the other person understands. For example, the project is not viable due to a lack of funding. That sounds very formal. You can add a bridge to explain it simply. The project is not viable due to a lack of funding. In other words, we don't have enough money to do it. Let's practice this. In other words, he is incredibly punctual. In other words, he is never late. Your turn. She is very meticulous with her work. In other words, she pays attention to every detail. You try it. This is a great tool when you feel like you aren't being understood. Instead of repeating the same sentence louder, use in other words and say it differently. Let's try one more. The instructions were ambiguous. In other words, they were confusing. Repeat that. Perfect. You have done an incredible amount of work today. Let's quickly review the toolbox you have built. For contrast, you have having said that, conversely, and on the contrary. For addition, you have on top of that, furthermore, and not only, but also. For cause and effect, you have in light of this, consequently, and as a result. And for clarification, you have in other words. These 10 phrases are your keys to C1 fluency. They are the difference between the food was good, the service was bad, and the food was delicious. Having said that, the service left much to be desired. The transformation happens when you stop seeing these as vocabulary words to memorize and start seeing them as tools to use. So here is your challenge for the rest of the day, or for tomorrow if you are listening to this at night. I want you to choose just one of these bridges. Maybe it is having said that. Maybe it is on top of that. Focus on that one bridge. Try to use it in a conversation. Or if you don't have anyone to speak English with today, talk to yourself. Narrate your life. I am tired. Having said that, I need to cook dinner. I missed the bus. Consequently, I will walk. And if you want to lock this in right now, I have a small task for you. Scroll down to the comment section. I want you to write one sentence about your week using a contrast bridge. Tell us something good about your week, use having said that, and then tell us something difficult, or vice versa. For example, my week was very busy. Having said that, I managed to finish all my work. We read every single comment, and writing it down helps your brain commit it to long-term memory. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. You didn't choose the easy path of a 30-second video. You chose the deep path. You chose the step-by-step path, and that is why you are going to succeed. Keep listening, keep repeating, and remember, fluency isn't a race. It is a series of small, steady steps. Until next time, keep building those bridges. Goodbye for now. See you in the next lesson.